Let's get you updated on our grain trade, shall we? I'm Marlon Bowling with you, your tour guide to the ag commodities. And on the corn market right now, we have had a narrowly mixed trade today, and things are just starting to sag as we get deeper into our trading session today. The March corn now down 2.5 cents. We're at 387.5, and we have the May down 2.25 cents. On the soybean market, we opened up soybeans with gains of several cents. We're continuing that. We're hanging right in there. January soybeans up 8 at 937.5. And let's look at the wheat market. In Chicago wheat, well, we have the March now down 2 at 554.25. That's a full dime off of our overnight high. That's quite a turnaround there. Of course, the wheat has had quite a run here lately. How about Kansas City wheat? What's it doing? Well, we have the March contract down 3 at 476.75. And the Minneapolis wheat, well, Minneapolis wheat is actually hanging on to a small gain, bucking the trend here. We have the March now 1.25 higher at 554.75. I want to bring in Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions and talk about the market action here so far. I don't know if you can read a whole lot into this here, Brian. When you have a scenario like this and we have about a day and a half to go before we get to the end of the year, how much of the trade do you think is dominated by this window dressing that traders put on and people square up the books, as they say, before the end of the year here?
Well, that could be the real dominant factor here, Marlon. Very little fundamental news that's driving the markets. You have very thin holiday-type trade, and that is due to the markets closing on New Year's Day. There will be normal hours on Tuesday, but no trade Tuesday night or all day Wednesday. So there's a lot of traders not wanting to put new positions on today or tomorrow, waiting until after trade goes back to more normalcy. And the only news really that's coming out here is that we may have a trade agreement signed with the Chinese officials coming to the U.S. this week, but that's not been confirmed by the U.S. yet at this point in time. And so the market's, just kind of sitting here waiting for some fresh direction. Corn following what the wheat wants to do. It's had a breakout to the upside, and on Friday, it looked like corn was going to try and follow that, but now that wheat's turned softer here this morning, corn has been a reluctant follower as well. The futures market has really gone nowhere since the last 2 weeks of trade in corn. Basis levels have continued to narrow up. I heard from a lot of producers that they have very tight basis levels in their local areas, and a lot of producers are taking advantage of that by merchandising some corn and then looking to ways to reown it.
Well, I just checked, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, ever since it opened this morning, has been sliding and sliding and sliding. Now we're down over 180 points. And we noted the dollar value a little bit ago. I wanted to take a quick peek at that as well. On the dollar value, we're still lower on the March contract. We're losing 170 points at 96.380. And I'll throw in the crude oil market here for you, too. The West Texas Intermediate crude. We're showing a trade of $60.99, be down about 20 cents or so. We'll come back here in a moment, and we'll take a look at our livestock trade. We're talking with Brian Hoops. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're talking with Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions, and we're going to talk about livestock right now. As we look at our livestock futures, we begin with live cattle. And on the big board in Chicago, there's just not a lot to talk about today. The nearby December contract is up half a dollar at 124 even. That's $124 even per hundredweight. But, I mean, we're coming into the close of that contract here, so there's really no volume to speak of there. We have the February contract 13 lower, and it's a 126.58 per hundredweight. Moving on to the feeder cattle side, on the feeders, we have the January up a dime at 145.65, and you have March down a dime, and it's at 144.70. It just doesn't get much quieter than this. If you look at lean hogs, currently on the lean hogs, now we begin with the February contract, and it is showing a gain of $1.15. We're at 71.65, making it $1.08 higher now. And April up 72 at 78.60. So strong gains in the lean hog market, led by the nearby contracts. And Brian, I wanted to ask you about that. Does that all of a sudden mean some nearby demand, or what is causing that kind of spread activity here?
Yeah, the cash markets are firming up quite a bit here. There's some winter weather in parts of Iowa, Nebraska, and the Dakotas, and into Minnesota as well, where a lot of these hogs are raised. And the big issue is not so much in raising them, because most of them are in confinement-type buildings now, but it's the transportation that becomes an issue, and that's when we see the cash markets improve quite a bit. And we are seeing that today. A lot of transportation issues across some of these main areas and that has forced the cash markets higher. Of course, that has improved the futures markets for hogs, but as you mentioned, the cattle, it's quiet, it's narrowly mixed. The cash trade was stronger last week, but the futures just kind of going nowhere.
All right, we talked earlier today about the big winter storm that's impacting the upper Midwest right now. There are a couple of things, a couple of components to that winter storm. You look at it as it relates to possible influence on the livestock production. It doesn't appear that it'll have much. But on the other hand, that could possibly have a detrimental impact on the consumer demand, couldn't it?
Yeah, to an extent, yeah, because a lot of consumers like to go out on New Year's Eve and have a nice steak or something to ring in the new year. So if we don't have better weather, people may be limited on how much they're able to get out. But I think in most of the country, people will be out and about. So I don't think you'll see a lot of detrimental demand to beef this, through this winter or this week anyway.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks for talking with us. Always a treat. And if I don't talk to you before then, I hope you have a very happy new year. We're coming down the home stretch here in 2019. Sure. And thanks for all the help this year. Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. He's based in Springfield, Missouri. So that's what's going on up to the minute, Tammy.
All right. Thanks, Marlon.